Okay, so now I'd like to introduce us to our next interviewer, Ruchika Sikri, sorry, Ruchika. Ruchika is the former head of well-being and mindfulness at Google. She has founded Mandala Ventures to create a better world by supporting globally accessible mindfulness, compassion, and well-being offerings. Ruchika advises several startup founders who are developing technology that is non-addictive, healing, and good for humans. We love that. She's also a board member of several nonprofits that are bringing mindfulness and well-being to schools, colleges, and women's shelters. She will be interviewing Ariel Garten from Muse regarding wearables and well-being. Welcome, Ruchika.
Thank you so much, Annie. What a wonderful morning it has been. And welcome to everybody who's here today, including many of the founders I'm in good company with. And so delighted to introduce Ariel Garten, who is the co-founder of Muse, which many of you will know or even be using in this audience. Muse is a wearable that tracks your brain, heart, breath, and body during meditation. I have a funny story about that I'll share in a minute after I am done introducing Ariel. Ariel was trained as a neuroscientist and a practicing psychotherapist for a decade. And she's also an artist and a designer in multiple media prior to raising the money to bring Muse to life. Ariel and Muse have been featured in thousands of media pieces, Forbes, Fortune, CNN multiple times, etc. And Ariel is widely sought after as a thought leader in the mental health space. I also know Ariel as a doting mother of a 5-year-old son who has given us some visits, when we have been talking in the past. So welcome, Ariel. So delighted to have you here. And the story I wanted to share is when I was at Google and I was teaching a class, Search Inside Yourself, one of the attendee asked us, like when we were presenting some science, he asked us, how do I now measure the things that are changing in my brain? Like we were talking about the density in the hippocampus or something. And I was just drawing a blank at that time. And that's when I learned about Muse. And this was 8 years ago. So you've been on this journey of creating a wearable that assists us with meditation and mindfulness. And we know that the market for wellness tech is growing very rapidly. So tell us about your inspiration to create Muse and how does it work if many of our users don't know that, and how has it been helping its users?
Sure. Thank you so much, Ruchika. And hello, everybody. It's such a joy and a pleasure to be here always. Thank you, Soren. Thank you, Wisdom, for the community you've created. So I began working with the early technology for Muse in 2002. My background was in the brain and psychotherapy. I was fascinated by the brain and how you help people unwind the knots in their own head. And I began working with an early EEG technology, at first to create experiences where you could literally hear the sound of your own mind. And I stood back and said, this is extraordinary. We're literally giving people insight into their own mind. This has to come to market. People need to know about this. And so we started about the very long road to the creation of Muse. By 2012, we recognized that we had a tool that was able to actually give people real-time feedback on their brain during meditation. So you could actually hear or see what was going on in your mind while you meditate. And we took it first to VCs to raise the funds for it, built our very first device, this one, Muse, the original Muse, in 2014 it came out, and since then have built multiple other devices in the Muse family. And basically what Muse does is it tracks your brain during meditation and lets you know when you're focused and when your mind is wandering. So as a psychotherapist, I was always teaching my clients to meditate, and frankly, I was terrible at it. I was somebody who, as you heard from my bio, loved to do a million things at the same time and didn't even feel it was possible for my mind to be quiet. And so myself and so many people I know would sit down to try to meditate. Your brain would bounce all over the place. You'd feel like you didn't know what you were supposed to be doing. And there was no little coach or guru sitting inside your head telling you when you're in focused attention, when you're doing it right. And so we built Muse to literally solve that problem. So Muse tracks your brain during meditation and actually gives you an audible sound, a soundscape that lets you know when you're focused and when your mind is wandering. And the metaphor uses your mind is like the weather. So when you're thinking distracted, you hear it as stormy. And as you come down to quiet focused attention, you quiet the storm. So this very simple paradigm has allowed us to create a tool that's now helped hundreds of thousands of people either learn to meditate in the first place, or if you're an experienced meditator, actually hone your own metacognition and give you new insights into your mind and the workings of it.
Oh, wonderful. Great to hear that, Ariel. So tell us a little bit about who are the users for Muse? You know, a traditional wisdom community or mindfulness community, I've been trained to do is like just do a sitting meditation or integrate meditation in my waking moments of life, you know, walking, eating. So tell us which sector has adopted Muse and who is it helping the most?
Sure. So it's been quite broad. You know, early on, it really was the true early adopters, people who are into biohacking and tracking their brain and biometrics. But over the last 10 years, it's broadened dramatically. So yeah, our user base is at least 500,000 people at this point, and they are from people who really don't know how to meditate, have been told by their doctor or heard from a friend or given the device by their kid because they should be meditating, and Muse teaches them. We also have a large meditation community of very serious meditators who use Muse to deepen their practice. And now we give you feedback not just on your brain, but also your heart and your breath and your body. And you can see your EEG during meditation with other tools that we've built. So it really gives you multiple angles to be able to understand and deepen the self. It's come to the point where I've actually met meditation teachers. And when I ask them, you know, the standard question you ask a meditator, where did you start learning to meditate? What kind of practice do you do? I've had now multiple teachers shyly tell me, actually, I first learned to meditate using Muse. And now years later, they're teachers. So we've been incredibly lucky to be able to have touched a broad swath of the community with it.
Wonderful. And you've been on it for a 10 plus years journey. And from our previous speakers today, we know that this field is so new. You know, all of the technology that is being built, be it apps or even psychedelics or, you know, Muse, Fitbit, all of them have just kind of come into play and are growing rapidly now. So first of all, congratulations. That shows great commitment and resilience, you know, carrying this work forward for 10 years. Tell us a bit, like, what kept you going? What keeps you going now? What's your ultimate motivation?
Helping people. I mean, this is the easiest work in the world to do. On the one hand, it's like pushing rocks uphill. You know, in 2014, we had a brain sensing headband that could help you meditate in Best Buy. You know, it was pretty crazy and out there. We would go into VC meetings in 2012, 2013, and we'd show them our amazing EEG technology. And they'd say, like, what's the killer app? And we'd say, meditation. And they'd be like, yeah, right. You know, get out of here, loony. And many years later, those very same VCs literally meditate with Muse. And we really watched the market go from something where we would bring in the device to show people and they'd be like, so how does this work? And we're like, oh, it's a cognitive trainer. And, you know, in the early days, they'd be like, this kind of looks like meditation. And we'd be like, are you into meditation? And they'd be like, yes. We're like, yes, it actually is meditation. Shh. So we've been really fortunate for the world to that the meditation overall trend, quote unquote, has been booming and that people really want to engage in this practice. And when we look at what keeps us going, you know, it really is the desire to help as many people as possible transform their lives through understanding what goes on in their own mind, being able to quiet the voices, listen to yourself, be able to go inside and observe when you're stressed, when you're frustrated, be able to make better choices about your habits and your behaviors. And the entire thing has just felt like a rocket ship taking off the whole time. You know, 10 years might seem long in retrospect, but there are so many pieces to the puzzle. It's just been so incredibly exciting that we can't wait to just keep on this journey and continuing to come up with new and meaningful ways to help people engage with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Now that I'm listening to Ariel, I'm thinking that it's a teacher, like sitting in front of you and telling you how your meditation is going. It's kind of like that, just giving you this gentle signals. You know, it's the storming going on. How do you bring yourself back? How is that assisted? And knowing our inherent nature as humans is so judgmental and we give up so quickly. I'm just thinking if there's a teacher sitting in front of me and saying, nope, you're doing it wrong. No, you got to come back, and no, you got to go this way. How does Muse assist us to gently, kindly bring us back to the practice versus saying, okay, I've had too much feedback and now what do I do with it?
So that's an amazing question. So we have multiple ways in which we teach meditation, and you brought up the idea of non-judgment, which is key. So in the basic Muse Mind practice, we're teaching you focused attention meditation and reinforcing you to be in focused attention versus mind wandering. At the same time, though, we're also teaching you equanimity. So as your mind wanders off into the storm, if you get frustrated by the storm, it just gets noisier and noisier. And as you stay in focused attention, there's a little reward sound that trains your brain to know that this is the right state. It's a little bird that tweets. However, if you become too excited about the bird and too engaged in your rewards, they just fly away. And so we're teaching you very subtly also equanimity, the ability to just accept what happens, accept the present moment and come on back, accept when something good has happened and sit with it and enjoy it without chasing it. And we have a ton of guidance and support and our motivational architecture that goes around that and sits around that to make it a really supportive experience.
Mm-hmm. And are you integrating Muse in other avenues, in healthcare or other devices, other health conditions?
Yeah, so we have quite a large stream in the medical and healthcare field. So Mayo Clinic, for example, ran a study with Muse demonstrating that breast cancer patients awaiting surgery, meditating with Muse improved their stress and fatigue during the cancer care process. Mayo's currently running 5 other studies. They have their frontline physicians using Muse to avoid burnout. There have been literally over 200 different studies published with the device, both as a clinical grade EEG and a meditation tool. And then we are now branching into other areas like chronic pain. We had an amazing partnership with Dr. Ron Siegel, an incredible pain and meditation teacher and practitioner, and he built out a pain course that's currently being validated with great success. We have a whole meditation for sleep intervention that just demonstrated that improves sleep as effectively as standard sleep hygiene or even more effectively. So we're really fascinated by how this can make real clinical change. And as per Charlie's earlier point, that when we start to see it really moving into the medical market, then we really see healthcare systems adopt it. We really know it is a standard of care. It's something that people do, as a daily part of their lives and health practices.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's wonderful to hear. Someone, John Shields, has asked a question. Has consideration been given to impacts of ADHD on difficulties with meditation?
So is the question, does concentration meditation help with ADHD, or have we looked at the difficulties of meditating when you have ADHD?
I think it's the latter, if I'm correct.
Okay, ADHD is a medical condition, not something that we treat, et cetera, et cetera. However, when you have ADHD, meditation can be quite difficult because focus is quite difficult. And what we do is we literally show you when you're focused and reinforce when you're focused and encourage you to remain in that focus state and make it rewarding. So we have seen significant impact. Again, not a medical statement, but significant impact in those with ADHD.
That's great. Good to know. And does Muse also work with body scan or compassion practices, or is it just on focused attention meditation practices? Someone has asked a question.
Sure. There's focused attention meditation. We have heart-based meditations where you literally listen to the beating of your heart like the beating of a drum, and you tune your interoception, your ability to sensitively understand your internal state and the movement of your heart. We have body meditations where you find stillness in your body and you can hear the movements of your body. And then we also have now a new feature that allows you to listen to any meditation content you want on your phone. So meditations from Calm or Headspace or YouTube. You can turn on the Muse bio and neurofeedback, then go and listen to your own meditations, the ones that you've created or your favorite teachers, and get the real-time biofeedback on top of them. So you can really do it within any meditation sphere at this point. Many meditation spheres, I should say. Meditation is extraordinarily broad, and we don't pretend to address all of it in any way.
Got it. Thank you, Ariel. We are at time. Is there any last message that you would like to leave with our audience today?
I think since the topic here has been meditation and technology, it's worth actually spending a moment just kind of addressing the question of, is there a role with meditation and technology? And I think as I look at the impact that technology has in our lives, on the one hand, it has been terrible in so many ways, and that we all acknowledge. But we also look at the gains that technology has allowed us to make in our lives, the gains in the medical sphere, the gains in longevity and mortality and infant mortality. And we look at tools like telescopes that allow us to see far, far out into the reaches of the world. And here we can apply technology in very limited ways to give us greater insight into ourselves. But when we do that, we really have to be careful with our relationship with technology and make sure it's always one that increases our agency, increases our human connection, increases our ability to learn about ourselves rather than, doing it for us. And so to me, the role of technology is one that can have a beautiful place as a tool to help us get deeper and to help us learn more. But it's key that the agency always rests with the human. The point is always the being of the human, the connecting to the self, the connecting to the other, and if you believe, the connection to something greater.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ariel, for being with us today. I'll hand it back to Annie to take us forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Much
Yes.
love.
Thank you both so much. It's so inspirational. I just love sitting here and listening to every single word. And I know the rest of the community is here, right here with us. It is just, it's illuminating, it's positive, it's dancing with technology. And we're all just rooting for this to all just keep growing and expanding. Both of you, thank you from the depths of my soul.